Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
What's going on, everybody? It's that time of the week. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for your favorite podcast, the SHW podcast. This is our wrestling episode 198. We are 2 away from the big one. And, of course, that big one will be taking place in a couple of weeks at SHW70 on February 7th. Oh, by the way, I'm B. Double Brandon Benefield alongside the great GB Gerard Bonner and the beautiful Diana Michelle. And before we get into it, we had another bit of a little snow and ice storm, if you will. I'm up in the northern part of the state, so it was bone dry for me this past week. But I know you guys, and especially Diana, a little more South Georgia, got some of that action. So how's everybody holding up? Everybody good?
I'm good. I'm telling you,
You're
all
over
you
it?
people up, I'm way over it. I was over it when it started falling. I was done. I was like, no, this is not my jam. I do not like it at all. At all. I like being warm, and that's where I stayed. So,
All right.
That's pure comedy. It very much reminded me of living in New York, which I spent, the early part of my life shoveling and all of those types of things. Now, it was nothing quite like that. I mean, there was always more snow then, but it was a fun realization that it's not ever how much snow you get. It's your ability to be able to deal with it. There's a life lesson in there somewhere.
that's right.
And the real challenge here in Georgia is we're not staffed or equipped to deal with it. So even if it's 2 inches or 3 inches, when science does what it does, it's going to freeze because there's nothing to help melt it. Then all of a sudden it becomes a catastrophe. And so thankfully I was nestled in the house. It was good. My son didn't go back to school until today. And so I'm just like, please go to school, son. Yeah, I'm just glad that didn't have to get out in that. But yeah.
Same.
It was beautiful to see, though. I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm all about looking at it. I don't want to be in it.
fun fact though. So I think it was Wednesday, because of course Tuesday is when it all went down. Wednesday, I looked outside, and there were deer looking at me in my front yard. Now that's not normal.
Okay.
I watched them cross the street to come into my front yard. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's a pretty cool sight.
Hello. It was quite cool. Made me a little nervous, but it was, they just walked right in, and I'm like, oh,
That
okay.
used to be a daily occurrence for me when I left to go to work. Every morning I'd have like 12 to 13 just in my driveway.
Jeez.
Yeah, they make me nervous because deer don't think when it comes to cars. And
No,
usually if
they
it's the
don't.
deer versus the car loses.
Every time.
So yeah, just pretty to look at far away.
Yeah.
All that to say, I'm all right.
Well,
Good.
good. Everybody kept power and everything. I take it this time.
Thankfully, yes. Power
Gotcha.
remained, heat remained, so it
Very
was
good.
much more enjoyable this time around.
Plenty of food, plenty of drink, plenty of comfort
good.
of the home.
All the
Well,
things.
on the bright side, it did not interfere with any shows that we had this week because, as I mentioned, our next show, SHW70, coming up February 7th, and it can't get here fast enough because the last bit of weather we had, of course, postponed the show, our first show of 2025. So we are very anxious to kick off the new Southern Honor year, and we finally get to do that in a couple of weeks. And rumor has it we might have a guest next week. And so in lieu of that, that would normally be our preview episode. So tonight we're going to look at the card for SHW70 and do a rundown, as we tend to do before the big shows, and talk about these upcoming matches. 6 I know of for sure that you guys that were announced for the original date, and they're going to be happening February 7th. So let's get to it, shall we? Let's see. How about we let's start out with this one. Just because I'm not sure, I've never seen this person live. I've heard of him. I've seen him around in different promotions. His name is Tristan Moody, and he's going to have his hands full because he's taking on the former Jake the Snake Legacy Champion, Hollywood Hunter James. Now, let's just hope Hollywood doesn't get his Tristans mixed up during this match.
True.
Because if you
That's
recall,
why that looked funny to me.
The
Yeah.
guiding light. Now, if the guiding light's there, I mean, sometimes he can be hit or miss. And now that Hunter James doesn't have the gold, who knows? But
Wow.
I'm very anxious to see this match. Now, Diana, you pointed out something earlier. These guys in the graphic look as though they could be a tag team. They've got kind of a similar style going on. I'm not sure
And if
how.
I'm not mistaken, their pose is even the same. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I don't know how Hollywood would take to that.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah. But Hunter James, I mean, looking for a fresh start here in 2025. Had a good run with the Jake the Snake title. Of course, lost it in the latter half of the year. But how are we feeling about Hunter James going into this matchup?
Well, being I don't know anything about Mr. Moody, I'm interested in seeing what he brings to the table. I mean, we know what Hollywood Hunter James can do. We know he's great. He's up for a bunch of awards. You know, I mean, it's all well deserved. We all know he can be a pain in the butt, but he is a good wrestler. We know that, so we can't take anything away from him. But yeah, it's always interesting to see how somebody new comes up and measures against people we already know are great. So yeah, this will be good. I hope it's good.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I hope it's good.
I
Those
hope it's
are
good.
famous last words. I will say this: if 2024 taught us anything, it's that there's always new talent looking to find their way into Southern Honor, and the new talent that showed up in 2024 all deserved to be there. They realized that they had a shot, got their proverbial shot, and they did a great job. Tristan Moody, pretty excited about him coming out of South Carolina. And first, when you just think about all of the people that make their way into Southern Honor, right? People literally know about Southern Honor all throughout the Southeast and all throughout the country. So Tristan Moody, a graduate of the Palmetto Wrestling Academy. A lot of great people have come from there. And South Carolina, certainly a strong state for pro wrestling. To me, what's interesting is when you see two people with similar styles, similar approaches to life, that makes for a very interesting match. It's almost like a mirror image battling each other. And I think that's what we have here with Hollywood Hunter James and Tristan Moody. I think it's going to be a great match. I'm excited to see Tristan live and in living color. And you've got to think, what a great way to make your introduction into Southern Honor by potentially defeating a former champion, someone who's come close to being #1 contender for the Southern Honor Championship. Well-decorated superstar is Hunter James. So Hunter James is going to have his hands full, I think, with Tristan Moody. And if Hunter James is still focused on losing that #1 contenders match that happened back in December, if he's still focused on losing the Jake the Snake Legacy Championship, he might add another loss to his resume. What a horrible way that would be to start 2025 for Hunter James.
Absolutely. He's got to stay focused here and get back on track. But you're right, GB, man. What an impression it would make. Tristan Moody coming in here first time out and knocking off one of the top dogs here in the company. So big stakes for both guys here going into this matchup. So looking forward to that one. Another one I'm very excited about. There's been kind of this triangle of feud, if whatever you want to call it, with Grayson Pierce and Owen Knight and the superstar Jay Lucas. And now it's Owen's turn to get a little payback, a little comeuppance on Grayson Pierce for the attack from a couple of shows ago when he attacked both Owen and Jay Lucas. And this one, when it was announced that it was happening in January, we were chomping at the bit all December long, waiting for this matchup. Of course, it got bumped back a few weeks, but nonetheless, we are still very excited to see this one. Grayson Pierce impressing a lot of people over 2024 in Southern Honor Wrestling. Of course, Owen Knight, a mainstay, an OG SHW original, and he's come back stronger than ever in 2024 and looks to continue it in 2025 as well. So very excited for this matchup. Diana, your thoughts?
It's always a good night when Owen's home.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a good night when Owen comes home. It is. I love it. It makes me feel warm and cozy on the inside. I'm just, I love it. Grayson, poor baby. The young gun is making his way onto the Georgia scene. He is. He's making his mark. People know who he is. He's not coming to play. I think it's great that he's out from under Lev and whatever that covering is. If that's the case, I really don't know what his goals are, but yeah, for real, it's Owen. I just love him.
Yes, listen, I love Owen. Like that's my guy. You guys know I've been a big fan of his and a big fan of his historic championship reign that he had a
Yes.
couple of years ago. Um, it's been interesting because he spent most of 2024 away from Southern Honor, came back right around time for anniversary to help defend the honor of Southern Honor Wrestling, and then got himself kind of wrapped up in this thing with Jay Lucas and of course, Grayson Pierce. Grayson Pierce is kind of the wild card in all this because while he's somewhat broken away from Lev, has he really?
Yeah.
Like he came into this whole scene saying, I'm going to impress Lev while betting on himself. And while he's done that, he's created problems for Jay Lucas. And now could he create a problem for Owen Knight? You got to think Jay Lucas might want his lick back in all of this. He might blame Owen Knight for perhaps losing the last time we were together. Grayson Pierce gets the win. Now will Grayson Pierce turn around and use this momentum against Owen Knight? I think the wild card here could be Jay Lucas if he's anywhere around. If Jay Lucas isn't around and this is a fair fight, the experience of Owen Knight should trump this entire situation. But this is why we actually have the match. And I think Grayson Pierce is going to want to start 2025 in a very significant way. If he wins this match, not only will he impress Lev if he's still interested in doing that, but there'll have to be some conversations had about the future for Grayson Pierce, considering he would have defeated a former Southern Honor champion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, even if Owen had never won the championship, Owen in himself is a staple. And if he does pull this off, it'd be a big feat for him for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's like you always say, GB, all it takes is what? 3 seconds.
3 seconds. I don't have to be better than you for my entire life. I just need 3 seconds.
Yeah. Some other issues.
Mania.
What was that?
Mania.
Well, there you go. There you go.
I mean, because honestly,
look it up, kids.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Our younger viewers and listeners are going, what?
They're like,
Who? I love it. Please, somebody ask me. I just, please.
What is that, velvet? Sheesh.
Oh, I love it. All right. Some other issues we've been seeing over the last couple of shows has been between the end game and AA Ron Dallas and Kyle Matthews. Okay. Well, we do know that Kyle Matthews will be defending the Jake the Snake Legacy title against a member of the end game, that being Nick Halen. We'll talk about that match here in a few minutes. But another member of the end game, some say the mouthpiece of the end game, Todd Sexton, will be facing young Aaron Dallas. So you got a young up-and-comer, only in the business for a couple of years, against a veteran who's been around a couple of decades. And he's going to have CT Keys in his corner. Kyle will be focused on that Jake the Snake title defense. I don't know if anybody will be around in Aaron's corner. So I'm a little nervous for young Aaron Dallas in this matchup. But what do we think? Aaron Dallas versus Todd Sexton.
Oh, he should be nervous because, I mean, when has the end game ever played fair? And when have they not picked on somebody? I mean, if it ain't one group, it's another. I mean, they're not happy unless they're stirring up chaos. And that's, I guess that is their end game, to stir up chaos. I don't know. Todd didn't he like retire or something?
Maybe a few times. Maybe a few times, actually. Yeah.
I didn't realize he was going to be back in the ring.
It's pro wrestling.
I know.
You never retired.
Right.
I know. Just, whatever. I definitely do expect CT Keys to get involved. No matter what. It doesn't matter. Win, lose, draw. He's going to be involved. That's just it. That's it. I don't know who's going to win this. I think Aaron's going to be great. He's going to have the fans behind him for sure. As long as Todd's not running around circles around the ring, maybe he can stay on his feet. Maybe we'll be all right. But CT, he's definitely going to be involved. I just have no doubt. No doubt.
So I have a few thoughts running through my head on this one. For one, of course, I think Todd Sexton never does anything alone. Todd Sexton certainly is the mastermind, not just the mouthpiece behind the end game. And I think, we remember the formation of the end game. Todd Sexton literally played the long game for 2 years, worked his way into power in this company, made everybody trust him. We all thought he was believable, reliable, the sense of reasoning in terms of upper management and Southern Honor, and then picked his spot, formed the end game, got the SHW championship, seemed to have a stranglehold on that. Now that the SHW championship is out of the picture, it certainly looks like the end game has had some chinks in the armor. We've talked about what's happened with CT Keys and Nick Halen, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I think this is very dangerous for Aaron Dallas because I don't think we've ever seen a happy CT Keys, right? Never really seen him happy. But when you've got the chip on the shoulder where, everything isn't good at home, but the one guy you think you can trust right now is Todd Sexton, you get the feeling that CT Keys is going to be ready on site to drop anybody who crosses him. Mm-hmm. So there's that. The second thing I think about this is this will depend on when this match falls on the card. If this match falls early and Aaron Dallas is getting beat up, we could see something that happened before with Kyle Matthews coming out to save Aaron Dallas, as that has happened in the past. If that's the case, and I'm Kyle Matthews, at some point, you have to start thinking about yourself. And I'm starting to wonder, could Aaron Dallas become an albatross for Kyle Matthews? Kyle Matthews has his own issues to deal with on SHW70. He has a title defense against someone who is previously Wrestler of the Year, multi-time award winner at the Georgia Wrestling History Awards, and the guy who pinned Kyle Matthews. Kyle Matthews cannot afford to be worried about Aaron Dallas in 2 weeks' time. If he is, his title reign will be over, and he'll have Aaron Dallas to blame. Or will he have himself to blame? So that means for Aaron Dallas is going to have to figure out how he can manage this situation on his own. If he's depending on help, which most people need help in dealing with the end game, we know he's not going to have help with Sal Rinauro. That we know. For sure.
He's let us know many times on commentary that...
if you haven't heard commentary and Sal talk about it, go back and watch it.
His least favorite for some reason. I don't know why.
For some random reason. So I think Aaron Dallas really is going to have to figure this one out. If he's waiting for Kyle Matthews to show up for him, that might not be a smart move. And if Kyle Matthews shows up for him, it could be costly. So I hope for Aaron Dallas' sake, he has an insurance plan that is not named Kyle Matthews. If he does, he should be able to walk through this match. If not, it could be a very, very long night for the guy who spells his name uniquely different.
And you know what? That we'll just seg right into it. And you've already made some great points about this matchup for Kyle Matthews. Kyle Matthews defending the JTS Legacy Championship against Nick Halen. And this is another one that's going to be, we talk about Kyle's already up for Match of the Year with QT Marshall, which the award's coming up this Sunday. We'll talk about that a little more towards the end of the show here. But talk about another one that early in the year could become a Match of the Year candidate already. Nick Halen, who I believe, is he up for Wrestler of the Year too?
I believe he is, yes.
And so, and Kyle's up for Technical Wrestler of the Year again, the award that's named after him.
Yeah.
And, these guys are going to put on an absolute classic, I think, and I can't wait to see it. But, GB, you made some great points. Where's Kyle's head going to be? Could the issues with Aaron Dallas in the end game get in the way of Kyle defending this title? We'll see. But either way, I'm excited for this matchup. Diana, what do you think?
I'm excited. I think this is going to be one of the best matches that we'll ever see at Southern Honor. The accolades on both of these guys is just, the list is long.
Yeah.
I do feel like if we could just one time have a match with a member of the in-game without any kind of interference so they can actually show what they can actually do by themselves, because they can. I mean, they're all great. They're all great wrestlers. I mean, they didn't get as far as they've gotten without being great. But I would just like to be able to see what they can do without any kind of interference. But that's just me wishful thinking, because who we're talking about. But to your point, I feel like Kyle's got to have his head in the game to keep his title. And sometimes it doesn't always pay to be the good guy, be the nice guy, and look out for everybody else when you've got so much to lose yourself. And I'd really hate to see him lose this to Nick Van Halen, Nick, whatever his name is, to just because he's sacrificing himself. I feel like he's got the ability to keep the title, but then Nick has the ability to take the title. So we shall see.
Yeah, Richard Halen needs no help, right? He needs no help at all. And that's what makes this dangerous, right? Like him versus Kyle literally is a marquee match that could main event any show, anywhere. It'll steal any show, anywhere. And you take all of these other elements out and you just let these two go, it's an absolute 5-star classic. It's worth the price of admission. Now, you add on top of there that at SHW69, Richard Halen pins Kyle Matthews. That adds another element to it. But then the piece that we haven't talked about, how is CT Keys feeling about this?
Thank you. That part too.
CT Keys, of course, had a shot at that championship just a couple of months ago. Came very, very close. Mr. Halen, in his attempts to help actually hurt the situation and cost CT Keys a championship. Will CT Keys be okay standing back, letting Mr. Halen potentially become champion? Will CT Keys have to come out there to assist Richard? I don't know. What I do know is we're going to have a potential situation on our hands, and it's all of the kind of elements that you're going to want to watch. I'm sure Halen, who ironically, as decorated as he is, has never held singles gold in Southern Honor, wants 2025 to be the year for that. And I'm just curious, if Halen wins the championship, does he become the most powerful man in the end game? I mean, before it was clearly Judas. We haven't seen Judas since he lost the championship. I don't know if he's even still part of the end game. He's just been like John Cena. You can't see him. So now the question becomes, how does that shift the balance of power? Does all of a sudden Todd Sexton favor Richard Halen now because he's a champion?
He seems to favor him anyway.
He seems to, and that makes me wonder how CT Keys is going to feel about it. There's all of these elements that at some point is going to be problematic. I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing for Halen to win the championship or to lose it, because either way, I think there's going to be some real problems. And can Kyle Matthews manage to capitalize on that? It's going to be the match to watch. Yeah. Kyle Matthews, Richard Halen in 2 weeks. Something I said?
No. I was just thinking of a joke I heard earlier.
I love your point of view. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Fireworks regardless, though, I think.
Indeed.
Either way, it's going to be a fun one. Can't wait for it. Before we get to our main event match for the Southern Honor Championship, let's talk about the inaugural Southern Honor Champion, that being Kevin Ryan, who returned a few months back to SHW, and he'll be taking on Joey Hyder, a young man who actually appeared at the show where Kevin Ryan returned, that being still here. And Joey Hyder was actually filling in for the Warden that night as part of Lev's Faithful in the gauntlet match against Cody Fluffman. And I will tell you this, he turned a lot of heads that night and impressed a lot of people that night, including myself, including all three of us. And I've been excited to see him back in Southern Honor since then. And now he finally gets his opportunity here in a singles matchup, but it won't come easy. It'll be against, as I mentioned, the inaugural SHW champion, Kevin Ryan. Now, if you'll recall, and I'm sorry to bring this up, but we're journalists here. We need to cover all the news here. Diana mentioned it last week. We were supposed to go one show without having to see Gunnar Miller and Matt Griffin. Well, that show got postponed, and so now I don't know if they'll be at the show February 7th or not. But if you recall at the last show back in December, Kevin Ryan was ready to have a one-on-one matchup with Gunnar Miller, and we were all there for it. We were ready for it. And so I don't know if Gunnar and Matt Griffin will be in the building or not, but Kevin Ryan might want to keep his head on a swivel. Joey Hyder, yeah, he's a newcomer to SHW, but not a pushover, as I mentioned, impressed a lot of people back at Still Here. So Kevin Ryan might have his work cut out for him as well. And he's got Gunnar Miller over his shoulder as well. So a lot of interesting moving pieces here in this matchup. What do we think?
First of all, welcome back, Kevin Ryan.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. Welcome home, Kevin Ryan. Nice to have you home. I don't know about this Jody Hyder guy. He was impressive. He wasn't. I'll back up and I'm not going to make it sound like I don't think he is, because he is. He was impressive. Fluffman did put him down, but he was impressive. He turned some heads. He had people talking and wondering where he came from. This should be a good match. I think it's two different styles completely. Kevin's one of those high flyers, likes to get a little crazy and risk taking. I don't really know what all Mr. Hyder has up his sleeve, but it should be good. But to your point, honestly, I didn't think we'd really have a show without Matt Griffin. Even if he said he'd be out of town, I just didn't. I wouldn't expect him not to show up. But since he's obviously home now, I don't know. Can we just bar the doors? Can we?
Can you imagine? Maybe I shouldn't even put it out in the universe. Never mind.
This time.
Well, I was gonna say he's up for a number of awards, right? This coming Sunday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His ego is already ginormous. But can you imagine if we come into February 7th?
I'm talking to the guy in the sound booth.
He's won these awards. I can only imagine what we're going to hear about come February 7th. He might not be there. He might not be in the building. Fingers crossed. Anyway, sorry. I'm just, oh, gosh.
Taking the batteries out of the mic.
Oh, that guy. Oof.
That guy. And I don't even want to talk about Gunnar. Gunnar's just lost. Something's wrong with him.
GB,
Wow.
You were the one he was coming after on Twitter. Now I think it might be Diana after that comment.
I don't care. I'm not on Twitter enough for him to come after me.
It might be. Gracious. Well, here's the thing. I think, again, we've got two great competitors who really have the potential to do great things. We know a lot about Kevin Ryan, of course, the inaugural Southern Honor champion, and he's grown so much since his time as a Southern Honor champion. Spent quite a bit of time in a tag team, which we used to know and love, and now really reestablishing himself as a singles wrestler. Joey Hyder, known as the American Hero, really interesting guy. We got our first dose of him a couple of months ago, but he too is a tag team specialist that most may not be aware of. He's a former tag team champion over at Reality of Wrestling with Booker T. And so well-traveled for only 2.5 years in the business. If you look at him, you can't quite tell that was his experience level, which is just one of those things that reminds me that it's not necessarily how long you've been doing it, but what you've been doing in that time. And so I think that level of national experience that he brings with him, his time that's spent in the NWA and kind of all over the wrestling world, is going to serve him well in battling our former inaugural Southern Honor champion. Joey Hyder really impressed me when we saw him a couple of months ago. He was one of those guys that I'm like, we need to see him again quickly. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is last time he kind of came in as a bit of a hired gun with Alexander Lev. This time he's not worried about Lev. He gets to really fight for himself, fight for his own cause, and fight for his own spot. And I think Kevin Ryan has to be careful about this one. Because imagine, we talked earlier about what it would mean to defeat a champion in your debut. or former champion. That's what Joey Hyder gets the opportunity to do this time. The stakes are much higher than the last time he was with us, but this time he only has to depend on himself. And I think he's got everything it takes to what some would call an upset. I think Joey Hyder could be the guy to get the win here. And we also don't know, considering we talked about him coming in last time as a hired gun, could he actually be a hired gun? Could perhaps there be some connection between him and Matt Griffin? We keep evoking his name. Matt Griffin, remember, he paid off Kevin Ryan before to be a part of Team Action. He's got no problem throwing money around. Could this be revenge for Matt Griffin? Time will tell. Either way, I like Joey Hyder's chances.
Yeah, going to be a fun one for sure. And that's a good point. I don't know. There's no telling with Matt Griffin. There's just
no telling.
Man, oh, man. But hey, talking about Southern Honor Championships, let's talk about the main event. Joe Black defending that Southern Honor champion. Man, it feels so good to talk about Joe Black as the Southern Honor champion. I mean, we've only been able to do it for the last few months here, but it just feels so right. You know what I mean? It just feels right. And Alexander Lev inserting himself into that triple threat #1 contenders match at the last show. To everyone's surprise, we didn't even know he was in the building. Adam Priest was supposed to be the original third competitor, and due to injury, could not make it. So I think it was just kind of open to anyone in the back that wanted to take his place. We had a young man come out, AJ Black, and then he gets taken out by Alexander Lev, who was, I guess, in the crowd or something, and just hopped the guardrail and inserted himself into the match. And next thing you know, he won the match, and he's our new #1 contender. So that brings us to February 7th. He finally gets that shot at the SHW title. Alexander Lev, who 1 year ago was named the Rookie of the Year in the state of Georgia. And in the year 2024, got bigger and badder and better and just, leaps and bounds. And the next thing you know, he's getting title opportunities all over the place. And now finally, he's getting the big one here at Southern Honor Championship match. Alexander Lev and Joe Black. Part of me thinks the way Alexander Lev has been, the momentum has gone for him, that, man, could this be the year of Lev? But then a bigger part of me says, nah, this is Joe Black, and it's Joe Black's time. Yeah, he had the title before. He had to relinquish that title a couple of years back due to injury. And now he's fully healthy. He's better than he's ever been. He teased about retirement, but no, he ain't going nowhere. Now he's the champ. Now it's Joe Black's time. And Alexander Lev, I'm sorry, man. You're going to have a rough night at the office, I'm afraid. That's my opinion.
Well, we share that opinion. I will say, though, from the time that Lev showed up at Southern Honor to try to force his way into the Rumble Jack just to be like, I guess, the floor mat for everybody to wipe their feet on as they went into the Rumble Jack, because he never did make it in, to all the things that he accomplished in the year, to be, like you said, Rookie of the Year last year, and then everything that's happened for him in 2024 is, I will say this, I am impressed by the way he is not sitting back and waiting on his opportunity, but he's taken it.
Yeah.
And he's not just taking it, he is making it his. And he's taking every opportunity that maybe somebody else's, but he's making it his own. And he's forcing his way into the big picture. And what picture is bigger than the Southern Honor Championship?
Yeah.
Honestly. And now he has a title shot against Joe Black. Whew. I'm telling you, some people might think they're bad, might think they're big and bad, but when it comes to a title shot against Joe Black, they might rethink that opportunity, maybe even wait and not take that opportunity because they don't want to face Joe Black. But Lev he's grabbing the bull by the horns, and he's really making his way into the business, into Georgia, and he's not sitting back and just waiting, and that's impressive to me, because a lot of people are just waiting on the right time, or what he's making it his time, and that's all I'm going to say about Lev, because that's a lot, and it's more than what I expected to say about Lev, because this is Joe Black. period. This is Joe. This is Joe's year. This is Joe's promotion. This is Joe's title. This is Joe's state. Done. This is it. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Let me start by saying, Diana, that was actually amazing what you just said. It really was. I've got a couple of historical things. I just want to go back to last week. Last week, the Washington Commanders. The fact that I'm even uttering their name actually does something to my insides. Like, that's just never a name I should be mentioning in playoff competition. They barely made their way in. They were the 6th of 7 seeds on the NFC side. They got to the wild card game and they pulled off the upset against Tampa Bay. Clearly, there's no way they're going to beat the team with the single best record in the NFL. The Lions having the best season they've ever had. And they go into their house and beat them like they stole something. And we're all sitting back going, what kind of world are we living in where the Washington Commanders are one game away from the Super Bowl? They were audacious. Then I'm reminded of, oddly enough, in the month of February, back in 1990, I believe it was in Tokyo, Japan. Somebody get my city right on that. Where Mike Tyson, unbeatable, the world champion. We weren't even paying attention to the fight because Mike Tyson against who? Who is Buster Douglas? Who's ever heard of this guy? And Buster Douglas does the unthinkable. 10 rounds, doesn't just beat Mike Tyson, knocks him out. Here's the problem with this whole scenario. Joe Black, by anybody's estimation, is the overwhelming favorite here. I mean, he's Joe Black. He's healthy. His promo game is incredible. He is intense. He just had a match of the year candidate a couple of months ago against Jackson Drake. He's in that realm to teach the young kids something because it's his way of giving back. If you can last in there with him, you've done something. So by all means, Joe Black, right? But there's something about an underdog, someone who is least likely to succeed, getting this opportunity. You said it, Diana. Lev is audacious. And I'm sure Lev is going to take this entire clip and post it over and over again, and that's fine. The fact of the matter is, you're right, Diana. Lev has done the thing that most wrestlers refuse to do, that most people refuse to do. And that is not just go up and knock on the door, go bang the door down and ask for permission later. So I'll just say this. Truth be told, the fact that Lev went from Rookie of the Year this time last year to a title match and the main event this time this year, he's already won.
Yeah.
He's already won. I don't know anybody else who had that kind of trajectory in a single year, a single 12 months. With that said, as we said earlier in the show, Lev does not have to be 16 years better than Joe Black. He just needs to find a way to be 3 seconds better. Lev still has a family. I don't know if Joe Black and his crew are going to be around. I don't know, what Murder One's doing. I don't know if the Kenway will be there. I don't know. What I do know is if Joe Black happens to overlook Lev because it's just Lev,
Right.
we could start off this year with the shocker heard round the world. It's going to be a long shot. I get it. But those are the odds that Lev's been dealing with his entire career.
Right.
Nothing's been easy for him. Nothing's been a cakewalk for him. With what he did at the Rumble Jack a couple of years ago and what he could do now, he inserted, again, he made his shot. He called his shot. He wasn't even scheduled for that triple threat. We didn't pick him. Nope. He picked his spot.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, It could be a very crazy way to start off Southern Honors 2025 in 2 weeks. If Alexander Lev, I can't even believe I'm going to say it. I'm not going to be the one that has to say it. Diana's going to be the one that has to say it. So I'll just say, Joe Black, I know you watch this podcast. You know you're my guy. Do not overlook Alexander Lev, and don't play with your food in 2 weeks. You might want to end this one soon, because if you give it time, Lev could be a problem.
Man, if that doesn't get you excited for SHW70, I don't know what will, folks. I mean, it's going to be a massive card as per usual, and we cannot wait to finally kick the year off. I know we're not doing the big New Year's show, but we're still finally kicking our year off. 2025, first show of the year, SHW70, February 7th, the Action Building, 261 Marietta Road, Canton, Georgia. Tickets available at the door the night of the show, starting at 5 p.m. Doors at 7, bell time at 8, and it's going to be so exciting. But hey, before we get there, let's talk about this coming weekend. We've talked about it on the last couple of episodes. Yes, it's awards season. And what did we find out this past week? We found out that not only will Carly Bravo be hosting the show, not only will Zicky Dice be hosting the show, but they will be joined by 1/3 of V3, the best looking third of V3. Diana Michelle will also be hosting the show.
Wow.
I know, right?
Wow.
Are you excited or what? I'm excited for you.
I am. I'm excited and I'm nervous because, you know, those two guys, that's a whole party.
Oh, yeah.
That they are talkers. They are smooth talkers. They've got, oh my Jesus. I don't even know what to expect there, but
I don't know if you'll get a word. I don't know if you'll get a word in edgewise.
I might be the mic stand that night.
Oh,
no.
No.
Not the mic stand.
It would not even bother me a bit because I love to hear both of them just rattle off whatever comes to mind, and that's craziness right there. Whatever comes to our mind is crazies, but it's going to be outlandish. It's going to be bad news and tattoos. It's going to be Diana, and it's going to be fun. It's just going to be fun. So if you guys have not gotten your tickets yet, I don't know what you're waiting on because it's going to be a fun night. You need to get them.
Absolutely. And congrats again to everybody that was nominated. Congrats to V3 for the nominations once again. Diana, we're excited to see you co-hosting the show. GB and I will be presenting an award at some point during the night as well. And we are very excited. GB, you got the details on the ticket situation and all that good stuff.
For sure. GeorgiaWrestling.eventb.com. That's where you want to go actually right now. You don't want to delay on this one because, again, you know, this kind of situation, landing your tickets is vital because that's how you're going to get in the door. And we want you to be in the door. Again, the types of things you don't normally get to see. You don't normally get to see Bad News and Tattoos and the outlandish one. And Diana, that's a unique combination that I don't think has ever happened before.
Never. Well, I toyed with it. I was going to go and actually be on Bad Taste. But they're so far in Atlanta, and it takes me a trip to get there. But it was played with, so
wow.
No.
So that means we get to see it live.
Even better.
That could be even bless it.
It's gonna be a wild one. You'll never know what anybody's going to say. Highly unpredictable. Those three with a live mic. Trust me, that alone is worth the price of admission. Plus, you'll get to see who's winning the awards live and in living color. The red carpet starts at 5:30. The award show itself starts at 6:30. Again, it's at the IATSE Local 479. It's 4220 International Parkway in Atlanta. Again, tickets, GeorgiaWrestling.eventb.com. It's a great way to see all of your favorite stars in the Georgia area, all in one place, with no wrestling ring, right? So people will hopefully be cordial. Keyword is hopefully. Trust me when I tell you, people are very passionate about these awards. They're very passionate about winners and losers and supporting their crew. And so you want to be there to support the wrestlers who you know and love. So again, GeorgiaWrestling.eventb.com. That's this Sunday. And again, it's kicking off a massive couple of weeks of wrestling and wrestling-related events here in Atlanta. So definitely be there for that. Again, 5:30 p.m. is when the red carpet starts. 6:30 p.m. is when the event starts. Only way to get your tickets, as far as I know, is georgiawrestling.eventb.com. We want to see you there.
Absolutely.
Have you guys got your fits? I know we talked about it last week. Have you got your fits together? Brandon,
I think I'm ready.
Think you're ready?
I think I'm ready.
About you, G? You've been
I'm still working
tipping?
on it. I've got a couple of ideas that I'm tossing around, and so
Me too.
yeah.
Well, now that you know that you're hosting, are you?
is that going to change what you're going to wear? Yeah.
My attitude changes every day. So yeah, I have flipped different outfits around multiple times to the point where I'm sick of looking at my closet. But yes, I'm ready.
Awesome.
It'll be a whole different vibe. You'll never know.
We can't wait.
We'll never know.
It'll be so much fun.
We can't wait for it. And we hope we see all of you there. That's this Sunday. And we'll see you there. And then we hope to see you February 7th as we kick off a new year for SHW at SHW70. But we will also be back here next week with episode 199. We're one away, two away, and then almost one away. And then 200 will actually happen at SHW70 for the live pre-show. We're going to have confetti poppers and community cakes and all kinds of good stuff. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. But we'll see you right back here on the podcast next Friday. But in the meantime, this has been
SHW.
This is our wrestling.